Hello everyone. In today's class, we will discuss the last topic or concept of reproductive health, that is infertility. So, what is meant by infertility? The couple unable to produce children in spite of unprotected sexual cohabitation. Okay, any couple, if they are trying to have a baby or willing to have a baby, even after the unprotected sexual cohabitation, that means even after not using any contraceptives, any barriers or any pills, they are even after the unprotected sexual intercourse or sexual cohabitation, the couple is not able to produce a baby. So, this is called as infertility. Okay. So, in the earlier days, if a couple is not able to produce the baby or being childless, for being childless, the woman used to get all the blames. But actually speaking, there are so many reasons for infertility. The reason may be the physical or the fitness, and congenital, that is by birth. If there is any defect by birth, that is a congenital, and physiological, and the usage of drugs. This may also cause the infertility, and immunological, and there are some diseases through which also the infertility may be caused. So, there are so many reasons for infertility. Okay. So, these are, it is not a major issue. In some cases, it can be corrected. For example, you have studied the menstrual cycle and what is the importance. Okay. So, if a girl or a lady who is willing to have a baby, she is having some problem in the menstrual cycle, that can be cured. Okay. So, by correcting all these minor problems, we can take a solution for infertility. But in some cases, in some major complications, the science is developed, the medical science is developed in such a way that there are so many techniques, okay, through which a couple can get a baby. So, these techniques are called as ART, that is nothing but assisted reproductive technology. Okay. So, this is the art. There are, for your syllabus, there are 5 to 6 assisted reproductive technology which we will study in detail. Okay. So, and for your examination, these abbreviations are very important. Okay. So, the first assisted reproductive technology is in vitro fertilization. Okay. IVF, it is shortly written as IVF, that is in vitro fertilization. Okay. So, you know what are the steps or the phases of reproduction. Okay. The very first is gametogenesis and the next is insemination and fertilization. So, what is mean by fertilization? Fertilization is nothing but the fusion of male gamete and the female gamete. So, in this technique, the fertilization is done outside the body. So, in the natural conditions, you have studied that fertilization means fusion of male gamete and female gamete. That is nothing but the egg and sperm. That usually takes place in the body. You know the natural condition. But in case of this technique, IVF, in vitro means in the laboratory or outside the body. Okay. In vitro fertilization means the fertilization takes place outside the body, but the almost conditions are provided as that of a body condition. So, in the womb or in the female reproductive tract, whatever the conditions are there in the body, the same conditions are provided outside the body in the laboratory. And outside the body, the fusion of male gamete and female gamete takes place. That is nothing but fertilization. Once the fertilization is done, what happens? The fusion of male and female gamete, that forms a zygote. Okay. And this zygote is transferred to the uterus. Okay. So, after the fertilization, what happens in this technique, in vitro fertilization means the fertilization takes place outside the body. Even all the conditions which are similar, very similar, almost similar that of the body are provided outside the body, that is in the laboratory. The fertilization takes place. After the fertilization, the zygote which is formed is inserted or transferred to the uterus, obviously, because the further development of the zygote will take place in the uterus of the female, obviously. So the next is ZIFT, ZIFT. So this is the abbreviated form, and that means Z for zygote intrafallopian transfer. Okay, Z intra I, fallopian F, and transfer T. Okay, zygote intrafallopian transfer, that is ZIFT. So in this case, what happens? The zygote, okay, the zygote is transferred to the female fallopian tube, obviously fallopian tube. So you have studied the reproductive structure of female in case of human, okay. So here are the ovaries which produce the egg, right, and this is fallopian tube. So in this technique, the zygote is transferred. The zygote, I mean to say, the zygote is in the early developmental stage. You have studied the developmental stages of zygote. When the zygote is start dividing and redividing, what happens? First, it divides into 2, then again the 2 cells are divided into 4, then 8, so on, right? So 2, 4, 8, 16 and 32, these are the stages, right? So the blastomeres 1, 2, 3, 4. So the same way, the zygote in its early embryonic stage, that is 8 blastomeres, okay, the zygote with 8 blastomere is transferred into the fallopian tube, okay. So this technique, this is the vagina, this is uterus, this is fallopian tube. So the zygote in the early developmental stage, that is with 8 blastomeres, is transferred to the fallopian tube. So this technique is called as ZIFT, that means zygote intrafallopian transfer. So obviously the further development from 8 blastomeres to 16 blastomeres, 16 to 32, okay. So the same way, this will implant in the uterine wall and further development of the embryo takes place, and then parturition, delivery of the baby takes place. So this is about ZIFT. Next comes intrauterine transfer, that is IUT, intrauterine transfer, IUT. So in this case, the embryo is again transferred to the uterus. In this case, see, you just remember the difference between zygote intrafallopian transfer and intrauterine transfer, okay. So the definition itself, it is self-explanatory. See, zygote transfer, right, in the fallopian tube, and the zygote is having 8 blastomeres, but here in this case the embryo with more than 8 blastomeres, okay. The embryo which is dividing, it should be more than 8 blastomeres. If it is more than 8 blastomeres, we need not to insert in the fallopian tube, and this embryo with more than 8 blastomeres is inserted in the uterus. U stands for uterine, okay. It is inserted in the uterus. So this is about the third technique, that is IUT, intrauterine transfer. So we have discussed 3 techniques. The fourth one is GIFT, GIFT, that means gamete intrafallopian transfer. G stands for gamete, I for intra, F for fallopian and T for transfer. Gamete intrafallopian transfer. that is GIFT. So this is a special case where we collect the egg or the ovum from any healthy donor, okay, and another woman who is producing a healthy ovum or the egg, that is collected. The egg is ovum or egg is collected from the donor, that means another lady. The egg is collected and this egg is inserted or transferred to the fallopian tube of another woman, okay, because the woman who is unable to produce the ovum, okay, she is unable to produce the ovum, but she can provide all the conditions which are required by the developing embryo, okay. In some cases the women, they cannot produce the egg or the ovum, but they can provide their reproductive system can provide all the conditions which are required by the developing embryo. The only problem is they cannot produce the egg. So the egg is collected from the donor and this is inserted in the fallopian tube, that is transferred, okay. So this is the fallopian tube, okay. So you have studied the structure. It's a very rough diagram. So this is a fallopian tube. In the lady, the ovary is not able to produce the egg. So the lack of egg, but all the conditions are fit for the development of embryo. So in this case, what happens? The egg is collected from a donor or a healthy lady and that is inserted in the fallopian tube, okay. And after that, the insemination takes place, then this egg is fertilized and the further development of the embryo takes place in the body of a woman, that is in the uterus of the same lady. So this is about ZIFT. G stands for gamete intrafallopian transfer. And this fifth is intracytoplasmic sperm injection, okay. So in this case, the injection of sperm into the ovum is done outside the body, obviously. So in the laboratory, what happens? The egg is injected with the sperm or the semen. So this case is called as intracytoplasmic sperm injection. The last one is AIT, that is artificial insemination technique, okay. In some cases, in some couples, this is done. The semen is collected from the husband or the healthy donor, okay. Husband or healthy donor, in case if the husband is not able to produce the semen or any difficulty is there in the husband, any disorder, then obviously the semen is taken from a healthy donor, okay. The semen is collected from the husband or a healthy donor and artificially introduced either in the vagina or in the uterus, okay. The semen or the sperm, whichever is collected from a husband or donor, a healthy donor, is directly inserted or inseminated with the artificial technique. And this is called as artificial insemination technology. You have studied the insemination process, right? Insemination means transfer of sperm into the vagina or a female reproductive tract, okay. So this insemination is done artificially. Artificial insemination technique means a semen is collected. Semen means the sperm, okay, that is collected from husband or any healthy donor, and then it is artificially inserted or introduced in the vagina or uterus. So this is about AIT, artificial insemination technique. So these are about ART. ART means assisted reproductive technology. Under these technology, there are so many techniques. For your syllabus, you have studied the 6 techniques, that is in vitro fertilization, IVF, then zygote intrafallopian transfer, that is ZIFT, and then intrauterine transfer, that is IUT, then Gamete intrafallopian transfer, that is GIFT, G-I-F-T. Intracytoplasmic sperm injection, that is ICST. And the last one is IFT. And remember, all these techniques are performed by the professionally trained doctors, and it needs a very expensive instrumentation. Okay, so by all these techniques we can produce, we can correct the infertility. If there is any infertility in the couple, if the couple are unable to produce the baby, then they can go for assisted reproductive technology. So here we complete the fourth unit, the fourth chapter of the first unit, that is reproductive health. Thank you.